Okay, hello everybody. Uh, the speakers are like this, the Carl Walker and Martina Ali. I'll hand it over the things. Please be free and discuss about the theme is that education in schools in the root of what the society is. That's very important for this current scenario, right? I'll hand it over to Carl Walker so that you can speak something. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, everyone. So we're just going to speak about equal time each. Yeah, exactly, and then we'll leave lots of time to have an open discussion about any ideas, questions we have for each other about education. You want to have a microphone as well?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to stay sitting down here, because... Okay. So the title of the talk, that education is at the root of what society is absolutely true. What we see in education is what we see in society, both now and as in setting a blueprint for the future. So education both reflects what's currently happening and, like I said, it creates a blueprint for what we want to see happen or what's going to be happening. So when we change education, we actually change the future. Not just for those children, but for society as a whole. So I come from a teaching background. I've been teaching for the last 7 years. I started off in secondary school, so in high school, and then over the years moved to do volunteer teaching across South America. And most recently, I was teaching in a nursery in Barcelona, in Spain. Recently, I have started my own company. We're called Human Education. And what we do is we go into schools and we speak with young people and we open conversations about happiness, about success, and about what it really means to be human, both within yourself and within wider society. So what really motivated me to start Human and start doing this work was that I saw that in schools today, in England, there was a huge space between the academic side and the emotional, personal, spiritual side of education. Here in India, I learnt a few days ago that they actually have a subject called moral science, which I just thought, wow, that's wonderful. And many of the people here spoke very fondly about their experiences. In England, we have a similar system, which is called PSHE, Personal Social Health Education. It's not so great, exactly. Actually, last year, Ofsted, which is the national body which evaluates English schools, said that personal social education was inadequate or poor in 40% of schools. So in nearly half of the schools in England, children are not getting that personal social education, which is so important for them, both within school and life after school as well. All the data shows this. When you do your research and you look at the numbers and you look at the qualitative approaches as well, we see that personal education has huge, far-ranging effects. There was actually a longitudinal study done by the Department of Education. It was a 20-year study. It was over 14,000 families. And in that process, what they concluded was that their education, personal and social education, has effects not only in terms of academic achievement, but it acts as a social equalizer. And by that I mean that regardless of the parent's educational level, the parent's income, the special educational needs, the gender of students, students who had high emotional well-being did better at school. So this is really inspiring because it shows that if we can develop soft skills, personal education, we can help students from all backgrounds achieve really highly. So it's really powerful, the research. And as educators, our experiences are also powerful with children. When you can find the time to have those conversations with young people, you see them running into school the next day, sharing with you self-taught information. You see the spark come back into their eyes. and the effects are profound. So nurturing emotional well-being in schools is absolutely the way to raise academic and personal strengths. So let's talking a little bit about the situation now. And what we really need to be doing now, I think, working towards the future, is instead of trying to force children into these square, triangle, rectangle shapes, we need to actually look more clearly and realize that each child, each human, is an organic shape. And it's a shape which changes and evolves over time. So when we try and force children into that shape, we're actually constricting them. We are negatively shaping them. What we need to be doing is not trying to put things into them or force them into a shape, but instead bringing out what's already inside of that child, because they're all full of individual potential. When I was doing my training, one of the most powerful things I was told by my teacher, he said to us, just remember that when you're teaching these children, you're preparing them for jobs which don't actually exist yet. And it's quite a profound thought if you think about it. So we're there teaching these children, and then they leave school, and they're going for jobs which we haven't even spoken to them about or given them that preparation for. So it's not about trying to fill them with knowledge which will expire very quickly. It's about developing the soft skills so that they will be able to educate themselves and develop as the world develops and adapt as the world adapts. So that's what we try and do in Human. We go in, we have these conversations with children, we light the sparks, we work on 5 themes, which the acronym spells out. So the H for happiness, what does it mean, and why we should be striving towards it as a means of personal growth and global growth. Happy people work better. They cooperate more. The U stands for universal goals. We work on developing empathy, because when we empathize, things improve, both for ourselves and again on a wider scale. The M is for mind and body, because in Western society we see a huge dichotomy between the mind and the body, and they're separated as these 2 distinct entities which don't really have any relation to each other, apart from maybe get a good night's sleep. Which is important, but okay, there's way more to it than that. Absolutely, lots of biochemical things, neuroplasticity. It's a really interesting world, which we need to speak about, because it's powerful. The A is for autonomy. We tell children, you are powerful, and what you do matters. You are capable as an individual of contributing to collective projects. And the N is for now. We give them practical strategies, guidance, frames. When I first started teaching, I was really reluctant to use writing frames. So if you're not a teacher, writing frames are just kind of sentence starters. Say in paragraph 1, talk about how Lady Macbeth is interested. Yeah. And I was really reluctant. I was like, I don't want to put fences around them. I don't want to give them these structures. I want them to let them be free, write whatever they want about Lady Macbeth. And yes, that's really important at the beginning of a project, because their creativity comes out. But then when it comes to structural writing and thought processes, structures are really useful for us. Routine is really useful for us. So in that now element of the workshops, we really focus on giving them structures they can use. I personally love a good 1-step, 2-step, 3-step structure. So that's what we do, and it's about changing that blueprint. Society will always be mirrored in education, and through education we can create the blueprint of that creative, inclusive, collective society which we want to see. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, that was wonderful. I didn't realize how similar you are to my thinking. I'm not, is this working? It's all right. I am not a teacher, by profession, but I work for Universal Peace Federation, and we see the lack in the schools of wholesome education, holistic education. I mean, education is not about just being able to have English and arithmetic. That's the basic in England. I mean, if you have these two, then you can have a job, even at 16 or whatever. But the key point is that people have this knowledge is very, very important, as we know. We can't get anywhere without it. However, if you don't educate the mind, the heart, the spirit, I think you've got half a man or half a woman. It is so lacking in current British education that we have taken upon ourselves as part of the thing to help young people. So we give character education to young people. And character education is, it doesn't say you have to be good or something like that. Character education. Character. So, that doesn't mean you got to be good, it's not like that. You get the people a little bit on the lines that I can't remember. Carla was speaking, is a little bit to understand what it is to be a person, what it is to be mature, what it is to be understanding, what it is to be happy, what it is to be courageous, what it is to be empowered, whatever, all these points that they can discover by themselves. It's not like taught to them in the fashion that regular education is. And everybody tells us, Miss, why don't you teach this in our schools? Because it's just not enough, we need people, structures and ways of getting into schools that are not so easy in England, to be honest. I mean, that's the personal education, whatever period I tried. It is so unsatisfactory. You go to the school, half come, half don't come, and then it's supposed to be 50 minutes. In 15 minutes, it's finished. What kind of education is that? So therefore, I think it's extremely important that I don't know, maybe all education, but certainly British education, we have to look at least English education. We have to look at it, really have to look at it now. We are not producing the type of people that we want to see, the type of people that will be like the people in this room, wanting to help, altruistic and mature and kind, and wanting to see a world of goodness where people get on and understand each other. We all have personal qualities that we can bring to society. But then if the child doesn't know this when he's 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, then he will never maybe catch up. Having said that, I've brought up two excellent, one young man and one young woman, two excellent children within this education system. Maybe it was better. They're 40 now, 40 and 41. So, maybe it was better in those days. I don't know. But maybe I'm being too critical. But I don't think so. Nowadays, people think that being successful means to have money, to have a job, and to be important, to be seen. In fact, some people think being successful is being